Today, we're reshaping how you think about private equity with insights from a PE firm's CEO who's turning capital into partnerships. Discover how this group is not just investing, but building lasting value in the home service industry. Ready for a mindset shift? Let's dive in.
Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Hey, we are excited to be hanging out with you today on Freedom Blueprint Podcast, and we have a pretty awesome guest. And as you heard at the beginning, we're going to talk to a CEO from private equity, and he's going to show us a little bit behind the curtain and what that looks like. So hanging out with us today, we have John Cerasuolo. He's got an amazing story, and he actually graduated from the Naval Academy and was a propulsion engineer. I think I may be saying that right. And he's going to tell us how that ties into plumbing and AC work. So John, welcome.
Justin, great to be here. Yeah, it's a long connection from being on a ship out in the middle of the ocean to plumbing and HVAC, but appreciate the introduction. I had the very good fortune to go to the Naval Academy and start as a very young man learning life in the military, and had a great experience. Really enjoyed serving, and I was an engineer. I was actually a nuclear engineer on a big cruiser floating around the world. Had a really great experience, and I think so. If I had to think about what kind of ties my experience then to what we're all doing today, I would say the common thread is the importance of leadership. One of the great things about the military is you're really in kind of a leadership laboratory. You're exposed to things every day where you have the opportunity to demonstrate, in some cases good, in some cases bad leadership. And as you can imagine, I had the opportunity to see both. I had some people around me that were just exceptional that are still mentors of mine today, 40 years later. But I also had the opportunity to see some leaders who didn't perform well under pressure when things went wrong. And you can learn a lot from both. So I would say that, the common thread is the importance in any endeavor you're challenged with, the importance of leadership in delivering results. And we should all, every one of us, be students of leadership in that sense. And I'm sure your listeners all understand that well. They're leading businesses and faced with challenges every day. And I think the importance of focusing on being a good leader is really the key link from my military career.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, thank you for your service. That's a big sacrifice. As you know, my son is in the Marines right now, and he's, and on his first, kind of time period contract right now. And when I talked to him yesterday, he said, man, there's some people that don't like it. I love it. So who knows?
As you know, my son is also in the military. So my son also went to the Naval Academy. He's actually right now, believe it or not, it makes me feel old. He's a calculus professor at the Naval Academy. So it's having family in the military. It's a great thing. It's challenging, but it sure does mature you quickly when you're a late teenager and you're faced with military discipline. It changes your life pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's great. And then what's okay? So we had a military, and then what did it look like after your post-military life?
Yeah, so that was a tough transition. I joined the Navy when I was 17, and after 9 years, got out. I really had no clue what I wanted to do. I actually started working as an engineer in manufacturing plants, did that for a good while, and then fortunately transitioned into field service businesses. So I've actually been involved in three very different kind of field services businesses. My first was a telecom business. We did cell tower construction and maintenance, and kind of building out the internet infrastructure for phone companies. We were contractors, did that around the country, and actually did a bunch of acquisitions to build that business. That was my first experience, kind of putting acquisitions together and building a culture. In that case, a nationwide footprint doing telecom services. And then after that, had a wonderful opportunity to be the CEO of a security company. We did residential and commercial security systems. We did 45 acquisitions across the Southeast.
Wow.
And built a large regional security business. That was a lot of fun. Had a great team there, just worked with some amazing people and learned a lot about the importance of building a culture and the challenges of doing a lot of acquisitions and trying to bring new teams and kind of align the cultures. Learned a lot of lessons there that I'm sure we'll have a chance to chat about. And then 2 years ago, started Leap Partners, largely with the team that I was with at the security company. So we came to this industry without a lot of experience in HVAC and plumbing, which was actually a lot of fun. It was really interesting. I'm glad I didn't stay in the same field. It's nice to learn something new, but there are a lot of common threads, with field service businesses in general. It's trucks and tools and technicians and plans, and it's deploying those capabilities across a geography. A lot of that is similar, although obviously the technology of plumbing and HVAC is much different than telecom and security. But a lot of the things I learned over the course of all that time really have kind of paid off in our venture here at Leap.
So I think one thing that you said that I think for the listeners, they probably keyed in a little bit and don't expect. All right, let me back up here. I think most people, when they think private equity, they think that Gordon Gecko from Wall Street, right? Buy it and pawn it off, like whatever that story is. And that's not at all the story of Leap. And I don't know that I haven't done a lot of business with a lot of private equity groups. And for most people that are listening, Leap is who we at Paradise Home Services partnered with. So I get to fact check John.
Yeah.
But you said the word culture, right? So you're like, okay, culture is important. And culture is one of the most important things in the home service, because the problem is however many vehicles you have, that's really how many cultures you have. That's how many brands you have out there roaming the streets, is however many trucks. So I think it's a pretty awesome thing that you dialed immediately into culture for our business model, because I do think it's one of the most important things, because I mean, the guys and girls that are running service calls, they're in their trucks. It's easy to get that man on the island feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that Leap understands that and appreciates it and really works hard to kind of close that gap. And I think that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. So you raised some interesting points there. So first, with regard to private equity companies. So I have worked with and around a bunch of private equity companies. And well, I think a lot of people view private equity world is kind of monolithic. They're all the same. They're all, these guys in suits, and they squeeze companies and do bad things. That's kind of the reputation. But to be honest with you, private equity companies are just like plumbing and HVAC businesses. They're just like people. They vary widely. Some of them are folks. Just think about companies in your industry and in your market. Some have really good cultures. Some really care about their customers. Some really care about their people. And then you have some on the other spectrum that maybe don't do that very well. Some you have more respect for, some you have less respect for. It's the same thing for private equity companies. So as an operator, it's always been important to me to partner with a private equity company that shares the vision that I have about how businesses should be run. and there are good private equity companies out there that, from my perspective, that are good from my perspective, that align well with that. And I've been fortunate to be partnered with a couple of really, really exceptional ones. So like anything else, you just have to be careful how you pick your partners when it comes to that. And for your listeners, they need to be thoughtful if they ever get to the point where they're considering an exit and they're considering a private equity backed venture, that it's important that they understand the mentality, the vision, and of their potential partner, and that they're sure that their interests are aligned. And as long as you have that alignment, things will work out well. The hard part is making sure you understand that before you enter into a deal. And that's why when I talk to owners of companies, whether they're considering exiting or not, my advice is always that you want to consider all the things about a deal, right? Everybody talks about the money and how much you got and what your company's worth, and that's really important, of course. But getting top dollar and then partnering with someone that you're not aligned with is a losing strategy when it comes to being happy in life, right? So you have to keep those things in perspective when you're considering partnering with someone, that you're getting a good, fair price for your business, but you're also partnering with someone that you trust and respect, and that you want to do life with. That's really, really important for making it a successful deal you look back on and think, boy, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, I can say this firsthand. Since partnering with Leap, there's not been anything where you guys have come in and disrupted in any way. I'm not even sure the technicians. I don't even know the technicians know,
Yeah.
But what I do know is I get a phone call at least once a week, or a text from somebody. What do you need? I'm here to support you. How do we help you crush it? And I think that's really cool. And that really ties into what you just said of, yeah, there's different groups out there, just like there's different businesses, and they all have different, goals in mind.
Yeah.
And really, like anything else in life, you got to make sure the two visions are gonna align to make sure it's a good partnership. I had someone, actually, at the time of the recording, an upcoming acquisition. By the time this releases, they will officially be on the team. But he asked my partner and I, as we were sitting there at lunch, he said, "Okay, it's been X amount of time now. Do you have any regrets with this decision?" And Gist and I, at the exact same time, said, "Not even a little bit." And it was like, okay, okay, good. I feel good about that.
Yeah, it's great you say that, because that's exactly what we're shooting for. Our goal, and this was kind of developed over the course of the many acquisitions we did at the previous company, the security business that I mentioned earlier, is we learned the importance of establishing that kind of relationship with our partners that chose to join us. We're kind of in this for the long run, and we know doing a deal with someone that isn't a fit with us, doing a deal with someone who doesn't share kind of our philosophy about running the business and the importance of the kind of things you're mentioning. While there may be a short-term benefit of doing a deal like that in the long run, it's not going to serve us well. So our main consideration when we're talking to potential partners is, from our perspective, that alignment and fit, because we want to make sure that they're going to enjoy working in a structure kind of like you described, and be enthusiastic about helping us build something really special. And our core team that provides kind of what we describe as the back office support to all of our locations, the accounting team and the marketing team and the HR team and the technology group, they all know their job is to deliver to you guys what you need so that you can focus on your customers and your employees. And that's the whole, if I had to kind of explain the philosophy of the business, it's just that. It's outward looking from our core team to the locations, with a focus on doing everything we can to make to set our partners up to be heroes in the eyes of their customers. So we want to make sure that you guys have everything you need: technology, trucks, tools, training, software, whatever the case might be, so that you guys are best positioned to be heroes in the eyes of your customers. And that's kind of the way we approach the business. And quite honestly, the other beauty of kind of the partnerships that we create is that when our current partners talk to our prospective partners, and they can say things like you just mentioned, that I have no regrets. I'm happy I did this deal. It's worked out great for myself, for my employees, for my customers. That just kind of, the flywheel just kind of picks up the pace when prospective partners that we talk to hear that from our current partners. And that's exactly what we're shooting for.
Well, and so again, you mentioned culture. So
Yeah.
there's a theme. There's a theme we're landing on here, which is fantastic. So another thing that I get asked a lot when it comes to private equity and partnership and all that kind of good stuff too is what is, and maybe this is probably a specific leap, but just in general, like what are you guys looking for when trying to find a partner? Obviously, you said a good fit from a personality standpoint, and I will tell you, when I called all the owners when we first started talking, and one guy said, I mean, if they're not going to want to have dinner with you, they're not going to want to work with you. So, and I thought it was a really cool answer. And then the other thing the same person said was, just so you know, in this entire time, every one of the owners is still here.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really powerful statement. And I went, all of them? Yeah. Anybody? I mean, there's been a couple of smaller tuck-ins that have happened here and there, but the companies that there's been a true partnership with, they're
Yeah.
all still here. As of this recording, to my knowledge, they're all still here. And I think that's really
Yeah.
impressive because, they've certainly come into a pretty good chunk of money that they could go do something else.
Yeah.
And they've all decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to hang out and see if we can't really take this thing to the next level. And a lot of the branches really have seen significant growth
Yeah.
even since the partnership, which is awesome. So,
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts now. So one of the things that we really focus on is making the lives of our partners easier by virtue of taking off of them a lot of that back office stuff. So our goal is to, in a sense, give some of the life back to our partners that it's hard to manage when you're running the business on your own and you're dealing with everything: taxes, insurance, benefits, payroll, marketing, recruiting. There's always something. And when you're a sole proprietor and it's your business, it all falls on your shoulders, whether it's 10 o'clock at night during the week or whether it's 2 p.m. on a Saturday. It's hard to take vacation. It's hard to, dedicate time to your family. So our goal is to, by virtue of these resources that we have, give our partners some of their lives back so that it's a joy to continue working, right? We want, and as you said, they're all still here with us. And part of that is because their lifestyle, improves a little bit. So that's a key focus of ours. And I think we do that pretty well. You also asked about kind of what we're looking for as
right.
we're prospecting. So we, as you can imagine, we spend a lot of time with outreach to connect to business owners across, in our case, across the Southeast. That's where our focus is. So, the best part of my job is getting to engage and meet with business owners through these prospecting efforts. That's where I quite honestly spend most of my time. And it's where I get the most joy from, because number one, I always view, we're both patriotic guys, and I always say, this is what America is all about. People taking care of themselves and their families and starting businesses. It's kind of the American dream. The other owners are like you, worked hard, invested, took a risk, right? I mean, America is the place to do those kind of things, and it's inspiring
Amen.
to be around people that that have achieved that kind of success, like a lot of your listeners have. So I love even I talk to a lot of folks that aren't interested in selling yet, but just want to talk to somebody about it and kind of hear a little bit and learn. I love doing that. So I've obviously said I'll go anywhere to have coffee with anybody if I can learn something and make a new friend. And so I get a lot of time to do that, which is really the most enjoyable part of my job. So what we're looking for, um, our perfect target is someone who um, loves what they do, has built a company with a good culture, and runs a successful business, but still has a little bit of fire left in them. Um, we talked to a lot of folks, and of course, it's common. Someone might have a health issue and they need to exit, and they're looking to potentially sell their business, or they've just gotten to the point where they've gotten to the age where it makes sense. And we certainly we'll talk to folks in that situation, and that's certainly a possibility for us to pursue a deal with someone like that. But our perfect target is someone um, who is interested in maybe taking a little bit of their chips off the table, because as you can imagine, most of these owners, their entire net worth is tied up in their business,
Mm-hmm.
for good reason. So it gives an opportunity to maybe diversify that a little bit, but they still get to continue running their business. Our partners generally share, as part of the deal, equity in our lead partners, our broader organization. So you and many others are shareholders in our company, which kind of aligns our interests together in the long run. Um, and so that perfect target is someone who is still fired up about what they do, loves the business, loves the industry, loves spending time with their employees and their customers. Maybe is a little bit frustrated with all the back office stuff they got to do and dealing with accountants and lawyers and whatever else you got to do on the kind of on the back office side. Um, and the wonderful thing is there's so many. It's such a fragmented industry. There's so many owners of businesses that kind of fit in that mold that we've had the opportunity to keep a pretty steady pace of deals going. We're getting ready to close, as you mentioned earlier, our 16th deal, and a new partner that'll be joining us next week. Maybe it'll be done by the time this is released, maybe. But yeah, it's a great industry, great people, inspiring folks to be around and to work with, and it makes life fun, which for all of us is critical to why we're doing what we're doing. We're doing this for a lot of reasons, but we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't have a lot of fun doing it, and doing it with people we enjoy being around.
I mean, money is one of those things where, sure, there's some advantages it gives you, but happiness sure is a whole lot.
So it's interesting you mention that. When we sold the security business, so that was private equity backed. I was there for 12 years. We sold that actually right before COVID. Our timing was really good. And then I went and did, myself and the other members of our current LEAP staff team here. We all went kind of our separate ways and did different things. None of us were happy. We were all, had good jobs and were making good money, but none of us were happy. And it was, I guess it was probably close to 2 years after we sold the security business that a few of us got together and kind of looked at each other and said, we're just not having nearly as much fun as we used to. Why don't we try doing that again? And that was how LEAP kind of was born. We actually began. So a few of us said, "Hey, let's do what we did before. We had so much fun. Let's try to do that again." We didn't want to do it in the security industry again for some reasons, and so we actually did a bunch of research on the entire range of home service industries. We looked at everything from landscaping to roofing to window replacements to pest control, and everything you could imagine. And talked to a bunch of industry folks in those spaces, and came away with the with the very solid conclusion that HVAC and plumbing was the best place to be. And I'm really glad we went through that process because it helped us appreciate some of the great things about this industry that make it, just such an awesome place to be and just amazing people to be around doing it.
Well, and there's such a difference. So I think sometimes when people hear, okay, Leap's been together for 2 years, you're like, okay, well, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of growing pains that can happen in that period of time. But the competitive advantage or the advantage you guys have is your core team has worked together for 12
Yeah.
years. And so, and you
Yeah.
can tell, I will say you can tell that the team has a bond. They speak each other's languages. They understand one another. And it is pretty cool to see.
Well, and it showed in your business. I mean, you and Chris and the team that you developed, you see the same thing. I think that's a characteristic of organizations that have really good cultures. Is number one, you retain people because people want to stay,
Right.
and number two, you're with people that you enjoy working with. You I don't think it's possible to do your best work if you're not around people that you enjoy being with, and that you respect,
Agreed.
uh, and that you admire. And I have tremendous admiration for our entire staff, you and the rest of the owners, the staff folks. I mean, you get up every day and you kind of want to prove yourself because you're around stars, and it uplifts you. It makes you kind of stretch and reach for goals, maybe beyond where you would if you were surrounded with mediocre people. And it just makes success all that more enjoyable.
There's some tools now that we have access to partnering up with Leap. And every single morning, there's an email that's sent out that has all these KPIs on it. And I don't know how all the rest of the branches. Actually, that's not true. I do know how the branches are, but I mean, we're like texting, like, dude, I'm coming after you.
Yeah, yeah, on your tail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're coming. We got some big deals closing. We are coming to get you. Um,
that's one
and
of
that definitely makes it more fun because listen, business is a game, and I think a lot of times people forget and they get in this mindset of just like the doing it part of it when really it's more fun if you make it a game. And obviously when you play a game, you want to win. Nobody wants to lose. So it
the,
definitely makes it more enjoyable. And you're getting to be around other owners and having the same conversations. Like that's one of the things that I know for me, I really enjoy is when we're going over numbers, we're measuring the same thing.
yeah,
It's not a, well, what do you put in that number to get that number? And none
yeah.
of that. Like it is,
You're,
we're exposed. Here you are.
I knows how you're
What
doing.
do you need help with? Like that's a lot of the conversations is how can I help? What do you need help with? Here's what I need help with. And I think it's pretty awesome. So I do have a very specific question. And actually I say specific. It is sort of specific. When you are out prospecting a business that is the right business, what is kind of the size and revenue that
Hmm.
that that we're looking for?
Yeah. So our our model is focused on what most other private equity companies do. What we're doing would consider to be really small deals. Um, we we're built on this idea of finding really good small companies, banding them together in the way that we have, providing those information systems and management tools that you talked about, and helping them to elevate even beyond the success that they had previously. So our typically the business we acquire, can be anywhere from $1 million in revenues to 15 or 20 million in revenues. More often on the lower end of that range. Um, and quite honestly, there are, as you can imagine, there's a lot more companies doing 2 or 3 or 4 or $5 million in revenues than there are doing 10 or 15 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so, our target is that owner who's gotten to the point, maybe they're at $4 million in revenues, and has gotten to the point where, hey, I'm not sure I want to grow it much more. I'm kind of at my capacity for managing this business on my own or financially. I'm not really willing to, take the next step. But there's a wide range in there, and especially in markets where we already have a location. We've done some deals that were on the smaller end of that just make a lot of sense. But you pointed out two other things that I think are really critical. One is the importance of those systems. It's really hard when you're a $2 or $3 or $4 million business. It's hard to be able to have the time and the financial resources to invest in systems that help you as a leader to effectively manage the business. We have the good fortune, because of our size, to be able to really invest in some of that technology. So like you said, every morning getting a report that shows how you're doing on all different KPIs, and in our system, you can actually drill down into individual guys in the field and look at some of their metrics. You can look at the business by departments and by different aspects of the business, and having that ability to look at that, see it real time, and use that to inform your decisions, as opposed to what most of us end up doing when we're running a small business, which is, well, I think this, or I have a feeling it's that. But decisions based on I think and I feel are not nearly as good as the ones that are based on, hey, I'm looking at my numbers and I know where I have an opportunity or I have an issue that I need to address. And the second thing it does that you also mentioned was it fires up the competitive juices. We're all competitive, but for us it's friendly competition where everybody is willing to help each other to improve and get better, and that kind of camaraderie and kind of being in that, one of our guys calls it the band of brothers. That idea that we're in this together. Let's help each other out. Let's find ways to get better as a group. But boy, I sure do want to beat you and be at the top of that list at the end of the month.
Yeah, you want everybody to win. I just want to be number one.
Yeah, that's right.
That's fantastic. So, anything else you can think of, John, as we kind of start to wrap this up?
Yeah, so I love, as I mentioned, I love talking to business owners, and I would, if I had the opportunity, just for your listeners, to say the following: is think about preparing for an exit before you're ready to exit. There's nothing wrong with, if you think your exit's 10 years away, it's smart. It's still smart to understand how it works, understand the things that you could be doing today, so that 10 years from now, when you are ready to exit, that your company is worth as much as it possibly can be, that you've maximized the value of your business. So I would just encourage your listeners to read up, to connect with folks, to talk to folks, and to learn about the process, so that when the time does come, you're better informed and have had the opportunity to position your business for the best possible exit for each of you.
And John, you said this earlier. I just want to kind of reiterate it, but you're willing to talk to anybody who's got questions, right?
I love doing it. Love sharing. We'll share everything about what we do. There's nothing about what we do that there's any kind of mystery or secret. The business, what kind of businesses we're interested in, how we value businesses, all of that stuff, that to the degree that it can help anyone, I'm always more than happy to start the conversation. I've said before, there in my history, there are some guys I became friends with through conversations like that. And in some cases it was 7 or 8 years later. And we ended up working out a deal together. So, whether that happens or not, it's always good to make a new friend. And in this industry, there's so much to learn. The more friends you have, the bigger your network is, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Yeah, agreed. So, John, if anybody would like to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so all my contact information is on our website, theleadpartners.com, and that's probably the easiest way to reach out. And again, happy to have the opportunity to share some of my experiences with your listeners, and would love to follow up on anybody that is interested in any more details on the stuff we talked about.
Fantastic. Well, John, we appreciate your time, man. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And I'm guessing a lot of the listeners probably were not expecting to hear the things they heard. I think it was good information. I don't think that culture, when they think of PE groups and specifically PE CEOs, I don't think they think about how much culture matters to the actual group. And I also don't think they understand the transparency. You just said it a few minutes ago. That's one of my experiences with Leap so far has been full transparency. There's never been any point I can't see the cards or feel like I'm figuring things out. Everything's always been transparent. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. And now you know how to get in touch with John. So check out the website and we will see you soon.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.